Perhaps the most significant reason to attend convention is to learn from Melaleuca's executive and corporate directors. At convention, you learn what to do to grow your business and how to do the critical activities in the right way. One of the presenters at convention was Executive Director 7, Sandi Siemens. Let's listen to the training she delivered at convention.
It is such an honor to be here today to speak with you. When Jerry Felton called me about 6 weeks ago and he asked me to speak, I thought, wow, I've never spoken from the main stage. This will be fun and exciting. And well, I'm not having fun yet, but I am excited to share some things with you. And when he asked me to speak on critical activity number 2, I thought it was so ironic because it's about setting appointments, making approaches, you know, really those critical things to do to enroll customers. And I struggled with enrolling customers so much of my business, my career with Melaleuca. And though I've been with Melaleuca for 9 years, the first 6 years, I was a terrible enroller. I couldn't set an appointment if my life depended on it. And I would come to convention and I would sit here and I would see people getting awards for like the Half Century Club and the Century Club and hear people like the Laganas who had over 200 enrollments. And I'd think, how do they do that? And I thought, like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I enroll? Why won't somebody tell me what to do? And I thought, you know, I don't get this. I don't get this. And it's called a critical activity. So I want to share with you some things I've learned, some things I've changed. In the last 3.5 years, I've come to love this activity, setting appointments, approaching people, and I want to share with you some things that I've learned. So the first thing I had to learn and change was my mindset, my posture, if you will. So 3.5 years ago, when we moved from Canada to California, we went to dinner with our good friend, Corporate Director 5's Alan and Sandra Pariser, and we were at their house. And we were just talking. I was talking to Alan, and I was actually complaining a little bit, or a lot. And I was saying, like, man, I wish I'd enrolled with you. And, oh, if I'd enrolled with you, my business would be much further ahead. And I bet you if I'd enrolled with you, things would just be so much better, blah, 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 blah. And he turned to me and he said, okay, so let's say you could start over. Who would you enroll with? And I was like, well, obvious, I'd enroll with you. You know, Alan, we're great friends. We have fun together. I would so enroll with you. And he was like, that's the wrong answer. And I was like, Eddie, because he's the highest status? And Alan was like, no. And I'm all puzzled, and I'm like, oh, like Rebecca and Kim, because they're fun, and it'd be fun? And he's like, no. He goes, the right answer is you should enroll with yourself. And I was like, me? Oh my, I would never enroll with me, Alan. I'm scatterbrained, I fly by the seat of my pants, and I hardly understand this compensation plan. I would never enroll with myself. And Alan looked at me and he said, that's the problem. You need to be the leader you'd enroll with. And it really hit me. And that was a tipping point in my business, and I made a decision that I was going to be the leader I would enroll with. I was going to read those books and do the things that those leaders do, and kind of to help me remember, you know those little wristbands that say, what would Jesus do? I started thinking, what would Alan do? And as I went about my day, I'd always think, what would Alan do? What would Alan do? And I started approaching people differently and having a different posture and reading different books and doing different activities. And today, I would absolutely enroll with myself. I know that I can help people. I know that I can enroll customers, and I know that I can truly help people change their lives. So I became the leader I would enroll with. And as I started really doing the activities that Alan did, I found myself doing the right activities and becoming a much better leader. The second thing I had to change was my mantra, that little thing that went through my head over and over. I used to always think, who can I get, who can I get, who can I get? And I'd be out there thinking, who can I get? And I'd be like, it's the 28th of the month, and who can I get? It's almost the end of the month, who can I get? You know, I had heard the mission statement many, many times. I had seen it on posters all over convention. Every Delivering Wellness booklet had that mission statement in it, and I knew the mission statement. But I didn't really get the mission statement. So 3.5 years ago, I started working with Mike Connaughton at the corporate office, and the very first month I worked with him, he said to me, you know, what are your goals? And I said, well, I want to get 4 customers and get 1 director. And he said, you mean you want to help 4 people become shoppers and help somebody get to director? And I was like, please, just because you work for the corporate office, you don't have to shove the mission statement down my throat, like, whatever, help, get, like, I get it. And he was like, I don't think you do. He said, because people like to be helped way more than they like to be gotten. People like to be helped way more than they like to be gotten. And that has changed everything. And so now the mantra that's always running through my head is, who can I help? Who can I help? Who can I help? You know, there are so many people looking for the help that we can offer them at Melaleuca. And if you are listening and thinking, how can I help? How can I help? It gets much easier to talk to those people. So now when I start with a new category 2 and 3, I don't have them write a contact list. I have them write a list of who can I help and how can I help them. And then I teach them a simple approach that just fits right along with that. And it just goes something like this. It's, hey, Sherry, this is Sandy. Do you have a minute? The reason I'm calling is I work for a company, and you came to mind right away. I know your son has eczema, and this company has products that could really help him. Would you be willing to book a time to hear an overview, see what you think, see if it's something that would make sense to you? Or, hey, Shelly, this is Sandy. Do you have a minute? The reason I'm calling is I work for this company, and you came to mind right away. I know you're looking to pay off that debt. And I think this company could really help you with that. Would you be willing to book a time to hear an overview, see what you think, see if it's something that makes sense to you? And I am all focused about helping people. And if you truly get the mission statement, critical activity 2 becomes much, much easier. So I had that initial list, but people often ask me, you know, where do you keep finding people? You moved from Canada to California, you didn't know anybody, and you've enrolled so many people since you moved to a place where you knew nobody. And people often tell me, like, wow, you've gotten lucky. You found so many great leaders. And it's true, I have found fabulous leaders, but nobody gets to the front of the room by being lucky. We all do it on purpose. So the first thing I do is I go where people are. I go to the park, I go to moms groups, I go to volleyball games, I go to soccer games, I go where there's people. And then I'm intentional. You know, I've never yet had somebody see me wearing my Melaleuca jacket and come up and say, oh, you do Melaleuca? Would you take me to Starbucks, buy me a coffee, and give me a Delivering Wellness overview? I have to be the one who's intentional. I ask a lot of questions. I listen, and I'm always thinking, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? So let me give you some examples. When we first moved to Bakersfield, I map-quested all the local parks in the area. We have 6 kids. Our youngest 2 were about 3 and 4 when we moved. And I map-quested all the local parks, and I would go to a different park every day. And I would take my little 3-year-old and 4-year-old, and we'd walk up to the park, and they'd be like, look, Mommy, look at the monkey bars, look at the slide. And I'd look over, and there'd be no people there. And I'd be like, we'll go to the monkey bars after. First, you're going to go, and we're going to swing next to that cute little girl. You're going to talk to that girl while I talk to the mummy. And afterwards, we'll go to the monkey bars. And so I'd go up and take them, and they'd be like, no, Mommy slides. And I'm like, swings. And we'd go up, and they'd swing, and I would just start a conversation with that mom.